regarding communalism, we have to understand it in the overall context of how the British has come and how the colonial rule has started in India and the later developments. And for this, you should also know the precedents of history. Precedents in the sense like before the British has come, what was the Indian social structure. And along with that, what are the contemporary happenings in the world. So when you put all together, then like you can understand communalism in Indian context. You see, this is thing. So these trends are something which are unique to the social circumstances or the country, geographical expression of that part. There might be some underlying normal general trends where a particular aspect is exploited, but overall like how it comes out and what are the features and how it is progressing another, it depends upon the context of that country or context, historical context of, and it depends on and contemporary context. So when we see such, you see other strands like fascism in Germany, alaga, you have to understand it in context with that society. So in India, we have to understand communalism with respect to the prevailing conditions and the global currents. Global currents are political thoughts and what are the institutions or how they have developed. That is how we have to understand with respect to India. So prior to coming of Britishers, Indian society was a heterogeneous society, right? There were different religions and there were different sections of the society. And they all kind of coexisted. Coexisted in the sense, yeah, there was certain phases where a particular religion or there was hegemony of a particular ruler. Ante Mughals lo తీసుకుంటే there are some rulers who assert Islam. But it was not a policy of dividing the people or making communalism as an active part of it or as an active political force. There were instances where, of course, religion guides the rule of the king, but on a very sustained basis to develop it as a policy or to develop it as a regular mode of administration, it starts with the coming of the Britishers. And that too, it is not like it starts at one point of time and from then on it will continue the same. It keeps on evolving. It keeps on evolving from like at a starting point when they come and then till partition, the evolution takes place. So even in colonialism, you can see various phases. Initial phase like it's kind of different and the intermediary phase it is little different and in the end it becomes extremely fascist and it finally leads to partition. So that's how, it's not a thing that's just put like that and then it will start working. It keeps on evolving according to the situations and circumstances. So when we look at communalism with context to India, how did the genesis, what are the genesis or the factors that are responsible or how actually it has come into picture. So here we will see three chief factors, this one, this and this. So product of modern politics. This is not a factor very specific to India, but anywhere after the starting of modern political systems and institutions, these institutions are based on majorly this factor, you see. When you see the medieval ages, it's like about kings and monarchs. So there we don't need that people mobilization or something of that sort won't be there. It's about inheritance. And you see after the king the sons will come and it runs like that. But you see this modern political institutions, this is based on mobilization of people and class identities. So in such situation it is inherent kind of. You see certain divisions to be apparent in the society, that becomes inherent. And whether we are unifying those divisions and we are giving a proper democracy or we are playing on it and dividing the society, it depends upon the people at power and the situations in the country. So modern politics it becomes a part, and how this is being used it depends on the people and the leaders. So that is one factor. With the coming of the British into India, we get this modern political institutions. And also the Indian national movement, it starts with, you see, the demand or premise of legislative means and all these things, constitutional reforms. So this is one factor, not one factor, the starting factor, fine. And the second thing is the result of colonial rule. British is a inherent, or it's a colonial rule, and it results in a colonial economy and colonization of India. So because of this very nature, there happens to be many changes in the Indian social and economic systems. So these are all the ones we have discussed initially. When British come to India and they start their colonization, there is lots of changes in the social and economic aspects, and that results in a very distorted socio-economic system. So ఇవన్నీ చూసాం కదా, like they come and then they make India a colony, how they convert it from an exporter of finished goods into an importer of finished products and exporter of raw materials. So that is all done with only colonial intention. Colonial intentions and brain. Economic drain, fine. So such distorted policies or exploitative policies have resulted in what was the traditional mainstream of the society, the agriculture. It was completely altered. And also we have discussed this, right, deindustrialization. That is, at one end what the traditional base of the society used to be, that was distorted, and the link between this agriculture and traditional industries was also distorted, and effectively leading to deindustrialization. So like there are usually like many people of the society dependent on this. Traditionally all the society was chiefly dependent on this. So when this structure has been disturbed, there are some repercussions, you see, and the output of this is arisal of new social classes. Ante new social classes not in a positive context but in a negative context, like absentee landlords, tenants, peasants, and then the peasantization of agriculture. Alaga we get some classes which are deprived because of this distortion happening, fine. And also because of the education system of the British. So traditional education, when we look at our traditional education system, it was mostly vocational. Okay, which chiefly supports this structure, fine. So there was a link between this and this and this and this. So it was a kind of continuous link, and it sustained the society in at least a not so healthy way, but yeah, because here also inherently we have caste systems. But in spite of that, this established thing was continuing, and there was a stability in the society, and all these links were like healthy, stronger. But with this happening and the distortion of here happening, and the result of this, and new social classes have emerged, and in that one of the new social class is middle class. So this middle class is an output of or outcome of this one and also this one. Okay, because you see, when we look at this system, it's mostly the youth, right, or young people are the ones who are engaged in the production activities. So once this is distorted, there will be that expulsion or availability of workforce, okay, and at the same time we have a modern education system. So these people, coupled with this new middle class has emerged. So these people at one end, they don't have this traditional skill set. Okay, fine. And they have this kind of new skill set. So together, what can cater their needs or the skill set they have? With the skill set they have, the thing that they aspire for or which meets their demands is this one, jobs. Okay. But here what happens is, these jobs are the modern jobs are chiefly occupied, or majority of them were occupied by the Europeans. And then these people were in need of jobs. So this contradiction, it results in friction. And out of this contradiction, we get two lines of development. Okay. One line of development is, these are the people who analyze why all this has happened actually. Okay, why this distortion has taken place or what wrong has happened. And then they come out with their okay. They come up with their economic theory, economic critic, drain theory. These are the people actually who give us all this entire link of how this has happened. And these are the first generation nationalists. Fine. Like Dadabhai Nauroji and Gokhale, these are all the people who give us this understanding of the things. And the successors are the people who subscribe to this idea and understanding. They will result in this finally, Indian national movement. In 1885, and this stream it develops that way, Indian national movement, and finally it leads to independence. And from the same contradiction, another trend that develops is this grouping based on religion, caste and class. Okay, where each group demands their own chunk in this part, and there will be clashes among them. And this is exploited by the British. Fine. So this exploitation by British, this is what we call divide and rule. So this stream is what actually, which has begun as a fight for this one, for the jobs out of this contradiction, is something which is exploited by the British, and with the current circumstances prevailing, they bring in certain other provisions to widen this gap. And finally this evolves into proper communalism, and then this stream it results in partition.